There are advantages from your own uniqueness that you can bring to the world, that you can elevate your life. So when I say that you already have everything you need to take your life to the next level, that's exactly what I mean. Your own uniqueness, if you can find the advantages of your own uniqueness, you don't have to worry about being better than someone else.
Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, a global community of women in midlife. I'm here to tell you that it's your time now to rediscover what has always been inside of you and bring that out into the world. If you're wondering what's next, but don't know quite what that is, or if you feel a twinge in your heart telling you that you have so much more to do and so much more to offer, you're in the right place. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Do you want to leave your job, start your own business, take control of your health, reignite the passion in your marriage, write that book, or at least that first chapter? Transitions like this can be daunting, but through listening to my story and interviews with incredible women every week, I hope to inspire you to take action. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. It's hard to believe we're almost into February. Wherever you may be, I hope you're enjoying yourself, and I hope you are also enjoying this podcast. It's an interesting thing because we put out our thoughts and our conversations out there into the world, and sometimes we don't really know how it's going to land. So I would be so grateful if you could take a minute or two to tell us, how are you enjoying the show? What resonates with you? And what would you like to hear more of? A review of this podcast would really help to improve our offerings to you. Or you can even send me a quick note at kavita@powerpurposeplay.ca. I just love to hear from you. The reason I'm doing this podcast every week is to serve as motivation for you. I want you to be excited about your life moving forward. It's all about forward movement and momentum. And if you could dream and visualize your life in 20 years, where would you be? Who would you be surrounded by? How would you feel? In our course, It's My Time Now, I take you through a powerful visualization exercise where we visit our inner mentors, which is you, 20 years from now, in great and vivid detail. It is so powerful that when we did it with women who had taken the course, it opened up so much about what is really in their hearts. When you can see yourself with clarity in the future, it builds so much excitement and momentum in the present. I'm pleased to share that the first group cohort of It's My Time Now is starting on March 22nd. You will be provided with online exercises, tools, videos, and templates to follow, plus 8 90-minute group coaching sessions led by me. We are opening this up to a small group of 15 women only to ensure maximum personal attention. So if this is something you'd like more information on, contact me. We go through a step-by-step process to help you rediscover your true callings with a concrete plan of action at the end. I went through this same process myself and created this for you to help you get unstuck. I so want you to have clarity and excitement for your next stage in life. I really do. I know you'll enjoy today's episode where I interview Shay Stone on being better than you. I love how she discusses how imagination and creativity can fuel excitement in your life and how it's so important not to compete to be better than others. It's far more fulfilling to compete to be better than our own selves. Enjoy this episode, my friend, and remember, you are unique, you are awesome, and you've got this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope your new year is starting off beautifully and you're excited for what is in store for you this year. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, and we are dedicated to helping you rediscover your inner power and purpose in this next chapter of your life. To that end, I interview incredible women every week who will serve as an inspiration for you and who will give you the examples of how to face the obstacles in your way and take that first step toward reinvention. I'm happy to have on our show today, Shay Stone. Shay is an author of the book Be Better Than You. She is a life coach and an animator at Walt Disney Animation Studios. In the animation industry, Shay is known for her intangible acting skills, which relate to her lifetime obsession with human behavior and psychology. Since childhood, Shay has had a blossoming curiosity that she couldn't shake. She always wanted to know more about why people were the way they were and why they did the things they did. Growing up to be a professional animator only exaggerated everything Shay already was. Animation is all about character development, and Shay is, personally, all about personal development. So welcome to the show, to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. Shay, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
And by the way, it was just your birthday, so happy birthday. I think it was yesterday. So.
Thank you so much. Yes,
nice way to start the year.
For sure. Thank you so much.
You had a nice holiday season?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been kind of a whirlwind with Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, and now now is the time to kind of settle down.
Yes, exactly, and figure out what's up to for this year, right? So,
right, exactly.
So thank you for being on the show, and I have so many questions for you, and I'm very interested in your book, and I'd like to talk about that. But before we get into that, I know you have this whole other side of you, in that you're an animator. If you could just kind of let our audience know how you got into that, and how did kind of the world of animation open up your ideas of the world. And you mentioned in your book that as a child, you were creating flip books and that you realized you could do anything as a result of that. So just tell us, please, about your story and animation and all of that.
It's quite a lot on paper, I see.
Yes.
But for me, it has been a journey. I've been wanting to be an animator since I was 7 years old. That's something I've always had a passion with. And Disney, I love Disney movies. I love watching Disney movies. The characters, I would try to draw the characters all the time. I was just obsessed with it, right? And one day I saw Toy Story. I loved Aladdin and Lion King and all those other things. But the day I saw Toy Story, I just everything inside of me just lit up like a Christmas tree. I just loved everything about it. And I was just like, I have to be a part of that. I didn't know what animation was. Yeah. Right? But I knew that I had to be a part of whatever I was experiencing. And that was where my love for animation came into play. And so it got to the point where I loved drawing characters so much that I would try to draw flip books and create flip books and try to see my characters move like I did that I saw on TV, right? And I would try to emulate that. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how this got instilled in my brain to try to make my characters move, but I was just like, I want my characters to do what they're doing on TV. And it was very fascinating for me because as a child, I've always been very observant. I've always been curious about, like you said, why people did the things they did, why they thought the way they thought. And then I would compare what it seemed to me was their reality. And then I would compare what I witnessed prior to that, right? So it was very interesting for me. And I would also, when I was young, I would also play with Barbies a lot to try to gain even more understanding and kind of reenact what I witnessed and what I observed, and then try to gain an understanding from their perspective, and then look at it objectively and kind of get understanding for myself. Right. So when it came to animation and me being obsessed with these Disney movies and creating flip books, once I created the flip books, I did feel like I could do anything because on a very expressive level, right? Because I observed so much, and playing with Barbies as a child, it was great for understanding and reenacting situations. But with creating flip books, I was able to put all that into action, right? I could exaggerate the things that I observed. I could create my own understanding in a creative way, right? And then just blossom and just get all these different avenues of perspective. And it was very exciting for me. So creating flip books is I can create a character, and then I can make this character act like my brother, or I can make this character act like a mix between what I observed from my brother and his friend, kind of create someone in the middle. And it was just and I could do it. And it was just very expressive. It wasn't just me thinking about it. And that's kind of where the juice came from. And I was just like, whoa. So everything, it's funny because it sounds like I was a very busy child. there was a lot going on in my brain, and there was, but it was exciting for me. It wasn't a chore, you know? So now, this being my career, it just exaggerates everything I was naturally, and continues to blossom.
Well, that's incredible, because I think you listen to your passions, and that's so important. And a lot of people don't do that. And the fact that you knew right at 7, you said that you had this passion and you actually made it happen, which I find it's wonderful, because a lot of people, they have these passions that they had when they were kids, and then somehow or another things happen and they don't go, either they don't, maybe it's circumstances in life, or they don't go after. And that's one of the things I really try to instill in my clients is, remember what you were passionate about when you were a 7-year-old. Right. What were you, can you bring that same passion into what you're doing now? And it doesn't mean you don't have to necessarily leave what you're doing, but maybe you can do parts of that and bring that into what you're doing right now. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely think there's a correlation between being a child and then going on in your life and being in midlife, right? People who are 40, 50, 60 years old, they typically feel like they don't have any more options, right? Or they feel like what they've been doing their whole life or their whole career is what they're meant to do, or there's no way they can start over. And it's simply not true. Is it easy? Of course not.
Right.
Nothing is. But to be honest, going back into childhood, or maybe people who graduate high school and they feel like the world is their oyster, you still have those options. At any point in your life, you have those options. So I think it's very important what you're doing here and things that we're going to get ready to talk about, because a lot of people, they confuse their career with their purpose. They confuse what they've been doing a long time, and they feel like they have to continue to do that. Maybe for a lot of different reasons. Maybe their parents paid for their college and they feel guilty because now they don't want to do that anymore. They've been a lawyer for so many years. Their parents gave them a full ride and they don't want to feel like they're wasting their parents' money, or they let them down, or whatever the case may be. Yes. There's always something where they feel like they're kind of stuck. And the reality is you can always start over. I've done it. I'm already on my second round.
Yeah.
I'm kind of rediscovering. And so it's very difficult.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. As I read your book and I was in it, you talk a lot about many things, but one of the things is about your fear, right? And you had a fear about going into animation school. You talked about it, and but you did go, and like you said, you did follow that passion, and you embraced your fears. And we do talk a lot here about courage and overcoming those fears, and just getting the courage to do what you feel like you really need to do. And so, I know you talked about that a little bit with women, but especially for women in midlife, like who are contemplating what is the next step for me, but they're afraid. Either they're afraid of internal fears, or they're afraid of what people think, or even a fear of success, right?
Right.
So what would you, based on your experience, what would you say to this woman?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I would like to just start with the story of how that happened. My fear,
sure, please. Yes,
going to animation school. Yeah, that was my passion forever, and I feel like a lot of people can resonate with that. You think this is what you want, and you're excited about it, and you do everything you can to line everything up for yourself to be successful in that. But as it gets closer and closer, tension starts to rise, right? Fear starts to come up. Fear of the unknown, uncertainty, you're uncomfortable, whatever the case is. And I experienced that too. So while I wanted to be an animator since I was 7, thankfully, my mom allowed me to blossom, and I got into a lot of other different things, right? A lot of different activities. And once I got to high school, she said, okay, so what is it going to be? Right. So I was like, all right, well, I chose animation. Right. I went through like this whole thing of like choosing the schools. We had like this career project when I was in 9th grade, and you had to choose like your career, the salaries. You had to know exactly what that was, what schools to go to.
That's not too stressful.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. And you would think like for a 13, 14-year-old, you're like,
that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, like that's a lot. And it was very extensive, right? You had, we had like 2 weeks for this project, and it came around the same time my mom was kind of telling me, all right, you're into a lot of stuff. What is it going to be? So when I did this project, I chose animation. So I found the animation school, which was Full Sail University. And so I knew that this was the school I wanted to go to at 13. Right. So going through high school, I was like, all right, I'm going to Full Sail University. Like, that's it. We got it all sorted out. I had it all planned out in my mind. Right. At least that's what I imagined. So once I graduated high school, the fear started to set in. Right. Because I've never left home before. I'm thinking like, oh, this is the time to go to Full Sail and become an animator and work on these movies. And they had alumni who worked on feature films, and this is what I wanted to do. And I'm like, oh my God, because now I'm scared. if it happens or doesn't happen, I'm scared, right? I'm scared to leave home. I'm young. I'm scared to meet new people and be in this world that I don't know anything about. Am I even fit for this, right? What if I'm not right for it? So fear got the best of me. And I remember I talked my mom into allowing me to go to a community college, local community college, instead of moving to another state and going to Full Sail. And she kind of thought that she kind of assumed that I was full of it, right? And she kind of assumed that I was being fearful and I wasn't ready to leave home. And so she didn't really question me on it, but I did get that feeling that she's like, oh, you're up to something. Right. So she allowed me to go 2 years at this community college. And then after the community college, the plan was go to Full Sail, right? Long story short, I graduate the community college and I come right back to my mom with the same story, right? Like, oh, I think I should just finish my bachelor's at the community college. I think this will be better than going to Full Sail. And she says, do they have computer animation? Right? Because that was the plan, to be an animator. And I said, well, no. I said, they have simulation and game programming. And she just looked at me and she said, is that computer animation? And I was just like, no. And I'm just standing there, right? And she's like, she just looks at me with like the most serious face you can imagine, monotone voice. And she just goes, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Oh, God. Like, and we were standing in the hallway at the time, and she just turned around after she said that. She just turned around and walked away and went into her room. And I just stood there because I've already had so much fear to begin with 4 years ago when I graduated high school, right? So I did like all this, and this is what we do in life, right? This is what we all do when we're
procrastinate,
scared.
Right?
We procrastinate. We try to navigate around the things that we're scared of. We try to suppress our feelings and make it like, okay, well, I'll do this instead, and that will make me feel comfortable. Right. We try to do anything we can to stay in this comfort zone while also trying to pretend that we're making moves, right? Trying to pretend that we're making strides towards what we want, when really we're just creating this circle of comfort and this kind of delusion. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was doing for 4 years, trying to put things in place and trying to trick my mother that I wasn't scared. This was just what I wanted to do now. Right. And we do that to ourselves. And so when she called me out, basically saying that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and left me to deal with that. That was the moment where I was like, oh my God, like I'm letting fear drive me.
Yes.
Right. Because I knew I knew this game that I was playing for 4 years.
Yes. And
the fact that she really just came and slapped me in the face and just left me sitting there with it, I was in pieces.
Like, smart woman.
Smart woman. Like a complete loser. Yeah. And she knew what she was doing. And I felt like a complete loser. And from that moment forward, I said, you know what? Fear will never paralyze me again. That's right. And so when I talk about embracing and interacting with fears and things like that, that's where that came from.
So you had a push. You had a push from an outside, from your mom, who really made you look at your life and realize, okay, I'm not really doing what I want to do, and
I'm not doing
get out of my comfort zone. Right.
Yeah, it made me see that I was in my own.
Yeah, right? That's a great story.
And that happens with a lot of us, right?
So then what did you do? Then you went right.
And you know what's so funny? We actually.
How long did it take you after that?
It didn't take me no time. So after that, I always call it the hallway incident, right? Because how I was feeling, and I was left cold and alone. My own mother just wouldn't. She was gone, right? And she left me to deal with it. And but the funny part is that we never had another conversation about it ever. I went to Full Sail as planned. Nice. We were on schedule, orientations and all those kinds of things. We never had another conversation. It wasn't like some people would feel sensitive and they'll say, hey, I hope I didn't, like, they would try to bring comfort to you afterwards, right? Like, hey, about that conversation, or, oh, I hope I didn't make you feel this way. Oh, are you still thinking about it? Like, she didn't give me that. That was it. And we never, ever, ever talked about it again.
Wow.
And I went to Full Sail.
You're very fortunate to have had that.
Yeah, I am. Right? I am. And it sounds, and the funny part is that story on the surface, it sounds like, whoa, like she just left you there and she didn't attend to your feelings and all these things. But a mother knows her child, and a mother knows what their children need. Yeah. That was what I needed.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. So you've written a book, and the title of the book is Be Better Than You. And from what I understand, it centers around being unapologetically yourself, right? And that trying to be better than others is really a recipe for failure. So I completely resonate with that. But if you could explain, how did this idea and for this book and that concept come about?
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. The funny part is that Be Better Than You dawned at Full Sail. Right. That was kind of when it came, that ideal of mine. And when I first started Full Sail, it's a very competitive school, right? And it mirrors a very competitive industry, which is the entertainment and animation industry, extremely competitive. And so I went to Full Sail and I see all these kids and they're all really excited, amped up. They know like we all have to be the best, right? We all want to be the best. And you can see the drive in their eyes, the starry eyes. It was kind of like, in a way, we already achieved our dream because we were at Full Sail getting like kind of like prepared to enter the industry of our dreams, like to achieve our dreams. So it was just very tense, but in a fantastic, exciting way. And at the same time, when I started to see that excitement turn into anxiousness, right? I started to see all that drive turn into fear, right? Because we knew that as we went through these classes that we had to be the best, right? Because this industry is about talent, right? So it's not about your grades necessarily. It's about your skill. So you have to be better than these people because these companies are hiring the best, right? So I felt that energy. So I felt that excitement. And then I felt it go into fear and anxiousness and all this other stuff. And I'm like, whoa. And I realized that people were trying to be better than the other person. So like people would look over your shoulder and see what you're doing. So that, that would dictate what they're doing, what they're going to do. Oh, I need to see what Shay's going to do. And that's going to dictate what I'm going to do. And I saw a lot of that in different capacities. And I said, all right, hey, listen, Shay, right? I have conversations with myself a lot. And I said, hey, listen, you came here to be an animator. You came here to achieve your dreams. You came here to learn. You don't know anything about animation. You cannot get involved in what you're witnessing. I was an observer already, right? So I knew a lot of what was happening. I said, you cannot get involved in what you're experiencing right now. I said, you're not trying to be better than anybody. You just got to be better than yourself, right? Like that's it. Your competition is yourself, right? So just focus on that. Forget about what this person's doing, what this person is saying, what this person is doing to you. Any outside influences, it doesn't matter what you guys have in common. Your focus is what you want to do, and just focus on that because you don't know anything. You don't have any leverage, right? The only leverage is your unique self and what you can bring to the table to yourself in your life and continue to put one foot forward. So my objective was the moment you activate the thought of competing with someone else, you've already lost.
Yes.
Like just the moment you activate the thought, like, oh, I wonder what, done. Oh, I wonder what this person done. Like you're done, you're lost because now your focus is shifted, right?
Yeah. So. It's so true. And it's so prevalent now. I see it all the time and I get caught up in it too. I mean, because it's hard not to, right? I mean, your social media, for example, you're seeing all these people who are like, oh, take this 5-day course and you'll be a millionaire or whatever, just like I did. And it's like, oh, but maybe I'm not good enough because look at that person is doing this. Maybe I should do this. Whereas it's so true. Be your own competitor. Right?
Raise the level of competition within yourself, for sure. And it's insane too. Something I had to think about and come to grips with myself is like, we're all very unique beings, right? And we're here to serve a different purpose. Right? To our own unique purpose. And not one has an advantage over the other, right? I wouldn't say advantage because I will say there is an advantage, but one's not better than the other, right? But there are advantages from your own uniqueness that you can bring to the world, that you can elevate your life. So when I say that you already have everything you need to take your life to the next level, that's exactly what I mean. Your own uniqueness, if you can find the advantages of your own uniqueness, you don't have to worry about being better than someone else, right?
Hi, my friend. Kavita here. Do you often feel blocked from moving forward? We all feel that way at times. These are referred to as energy blocks. I've created a short, actionable PDF guide to help you release your negative energy blocks. Click the link in the description to download it now for free. Now, let's get back to the episode. At the same time, I think you can also look at other people as motivation.
Thank you.
Right? People who you see and that you want to kind of become, or you love what they're doing. So that can motivate you to become better than yourself. But it doesn't mean that you want to be better than them or
better than them.
It's as long as they motivate you to be
Exactly. And that's what's
to
beautiful.
improve.
And that's what's beautiful about competition in general,
Yeah.
right? So competition, I'm actually a very competitive person as well, right? But the competition by just trying to be inspired and things like that, like that's conducive to success, right? Like, yeah, it's
For
like,
sure.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to beat you, and, blah, blah, blah. And it's just fun. Competition by that, it is great. And it is conducive to success. But competition through comparison, that's conducive to self-destruction, right? Because now you're looking at yourself as either less than or even above someone else, which when we get into that state of mind, that's when a war can begin.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's more of what I mean with competition by comparison, not necessarily competition, just like,
yes.
fun, or if you're looking at someone for instance,
healthy competition versus unhealthy. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. So there's another topic that you bring up in the book, and that's the need for belonging. And I'll read this quote that I liked. You said, "We've become so dependent on wanting to belong that we've forgotten how to be with ourselves."
Right.
So really in a world caught up with so much, I guess we're talking about this comparison and outside approval, and how do we get around this constant comparison? Because it kind of relates to the previous question, but how do we stop that from happening? I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, I think first, you don't stop it, right? We're all human. So you talk about, like, it doesn't matter how educated you are or what you've gone through or what you've achieved in life, you're still going to experience certain things. You're still going to experience comparing yourself to others. You're still going to experience fear. You're still going to experience insecurity, all those kinds of things. It's just about how you manage it, right? I think the biggest thing as far as overcoming this constant comparison and not being able to be with ourselves because we're constantly looking for validation is to rediscover who we are. Right? Or discover. Some of us haven't had the chance. Some of us, everything has been deeply embedded into us. And people have families or forced arranged marriages and things like that, where they just do what's expected of them and they never even had a chance to discover themselves. Or maybe we establish our beliefs and things like that as we get older, and now we need to rediscover who we truly are because we have gotten caught up in a lot of external stuff, right? So I think as far as how to overcome that is rediscovering who you truly are and start interacting and embracing the deepest and darkest sides of you. Right? Because I think, like I said before, a lot of us, we kind of get into this delusional state where we're trying to suppress the deep, dark things about us that we don't really love bringing to the surface. And we try to navigate around them to create some kind of comfort, even if it's not necessarily true to who we are, but it helps us feel better. Right. Even though deep down we don't feel better, there is an internal war going on, but it's like, okay, well, I'll just put this in place and then the outside world won't know this. And if I can convince the outside world that I'm this person, then maybe they'll help me convince myself. Yeah. Right. And that's how we become so locked to the outside world, because it's like, okay, if they believe this, then I'll believe it. Right. But it needs to go the other way around. Right. So, and this affects a lot of people. And like I said, I was in that before as well. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely starts with your truth. Yeah. And the audience that's listening is generally women in midlife. And I think when we look at our lives, often we see that we spend a lot of our life trying to make others happy and looking after others, whether it's our children or our spouse or our parents or our friends. And we often neglect our own inner happiness and what we really want. And like, I love what you said about rediscovering yourself, because I'm all about that. I've created a course on how to rediscover yourself, but I really do say that it's really time now to rediscover who we really are and what we really want. Yes. And it's about becoming and overcoming some of those obstacles that we have inside of us. So I know that you're also a coach. And so how do we overcome some of those obstacles, or say that I've been doing this all my whole life and all this self-doubt, or that I can't do this because I don't know how to do it, or I've been doing this for my whole life and I don't know anything else and I'm not good enough, and all the good I'm not good enoughs, or all the inner blocks that stop us from moving forward. How do we even begin to? For sure. My first instinct is let's explore that thought. Right. So if you don't think you're good enough, because it's more so, I like focusing on the situation, more so the consequences of the emotions. Right. So you're saying I'm not good enough. okay, you're not good enough to do what? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm not good enough to do this. Okay. So, all right, well, let's focus on that. Let's focus on whatever this thing is. So if it's, I'm not good enough to become a coach. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why do you think that is? Right. And then let's go down that. But one thing a lot of us do is you'll find people say, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. And they have this self-doubt and all these insecurities. And then they'll just go down this rabbit hole of feeling those emotions. So now it's like a domino effect. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, this is probably why. And then they just keep going down. It's like we can do the same exact thing. We can go down the rabbit hole, but we can go down the other way.
Right.
Right. So it's like, okay, well, what if that was the case? So you're not good enough to do this. Okay, that is the case. What's wrong with that? Are you supposed to know how to do that? This is new for you. Right? Are you supposed to know everything? Does everybody know everything? Of course, no one knows everything, right? No one's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So what if you don't know? So what's wrong with you not knowing? You're not supposed to, right? No. Okay. All right. So what do we need to do to start this process? Right. Of getting better, learning about it, right? Maybe I can start doing research and things like that. It's like, okay, yeah. Let's start there. So I like to fixate more so on the situation than kind of reveling and immersing in how they're feeling with the self-doubt.
Well, understanding the core of where that's coming from and also shifting the energy, right? I mean, the energy, if you're constantly have negative thoughts and thinking that you can't do something, then those thoughts will actually accumulate and create momentum, and then more and more negative thoughts and things will come to you.
And that's what I love to do. I love to create momentum, but in the other way.
Right. So it's shifting the energy from catabolic to anabolic is it?
Exactly. So. And it's so funny too, because one of the things I really do love about coaching is seeing people's face light up.
Yes.
Right. So you talk about like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. It's like, okay, well, let's explore if that is the case, like, is that the worst thing? Right. And then we talk about that and we go down that rabbit hole. But then it's also that realization. And a lot of us get stuck in that too, where we forget like, it's okay that I suck. I'm starting something new. So when we talk about women in midlife and trying to rediscover who they truly are, you're at the base camp. And that's exciting. Isn't that exciting? Like and I think a lot of times we cross hatch between anxiety and curiosity, right? Because when you're curious, you're empowered, right? You're excited. Like, I want to know, I'm going to walk into this unknown place because I want to see what's going on. Yeah. Right. You're like, you're nosy. It's like, I gotta know what's going on around here. But when you have that anxiety, which curiosity and anxiety are two of the same things, just like, okay, well, I don't know what's out there and I'm scared to find out. Well, curiosity is, I don't know what's out there, but I'm gonna find out. Yeah. Right. So it's like, so we're doing, and a lot of things I talk about in my book, we're doing two things. It's like, but we're doing the same thing. It's just, we're going down different avenues.
Different perspective. Yeah.
Different perspectives. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And even imagination and anxiety, it's the same thing. And one of the things I do with my clients too, I just call it, let's go into the fantasy. Let's live in the fantasy, right? Where I tell them, all right, let's talk about what you want in life, what you want to do. And don't worry about how big or how realistic you think it is. Just fantasize, just go with it. Use your imagination and just make it as big as you want. Just tell me what the perfect life is for you. Tell me exactly what you're doing, right? Tell me exactly what the house looks like, what the office, whatever it is. How many pets do you have? What kind is it? Like, let's just go with it. Yeah. And we'll have a whole session where we're just fantasizing. Yeah. Right. But it's great because, like I said, even with anxiety and imagination, they're two of the same things too. Anxiety, you're worrying about the things that you don't want to happen, that you hope doesn't happen. Right. Yes. And what happens, like you said earlier, if you think about all the negative things, there will eventually
negative things will happen. Yes.
It will eventually manifest into your life. So now you have imagination, what is that? You're fantasizing about the things that you hope does happen. Yeah. You're thinking about the things that you want to happen. Yeah.
And it's almost as though you think about them, but you've also, it's almost as if they've already happened. And if you think that way, then there's no way that they will not happen. Right? It's just a natural law. I mean, that's we're getting into the law of attraction and all that.
Exactly. And now we're getting into something. But it's reality though.
It is so true. I've seen it over and over again in my own life. It's getting past that comfort of thinking, like you're talking about with your clients, you talk about imagination, and it's the same visualization that I do. It's like visualizing yourself, let's say in 20 years, like in great detail. It's an inner mentor of your own inner mentor, right? And what do you see? And if you can actually put that in your brain and form a picture, neurons actually start developing where things uncannily will come to your life. And if you're open to them,
right.
I don't know if you believe this, but if you're open to it, things will
Right.
happen and you will see, you will
It's so
see how uncannily things happen that,
it's so beautiful, and
yeah,
people think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but if you practice this, it's like, how can you, it holds a lot of weight, because like you said, people with anxiety and things that they think about that they don't want to happen, it keeps happening, and they reaffirm their beliefs, right? And when you think about pessimists, they're like, oh, I bet you when we get there it's going to be closed, and then they
yeah,
get there and the store's closed. Oh,
yes,
I bet you this is going to happen, and it's something bad, and it happens. This is why pessimists are so, like, their energy is very, like, strong,
mm-hmm,
because they believe, they know they're right, right? Because
mm-hmm,
this is what they truly believe. They believe the worst is going to happen, and the worst always happens. So now they're like, yeah, I bet you this is going to happen. We can do
yeah,
the same thing. We can do the same thing over here.
yeah. Well, I kind of every morning what I say to myself, it's everything is going to work out. Everything always works out for me. So it's everything is
Right.
going, or everything is fine, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
everything is in place for life to unfold as it should,
Oh yeah, and
right?
it's kind of like seeing a car, right? So if you see a
Yeah,
car that you love, right? So you see this red Nissan, whatever, and that's a car that you love. All of a sudden, you can't stop seeing red Nissan, right? It's like you see them everywhere now, and
yeah,
you're like, and when we talk about the things that
yeah,
you manifest in your life, and just putting all of your energy towards what you want.
mm-hmm,
Forget about putting all your energy towards the things you don't want. Why would you
mm-hmm,
put so much energy on what you don't want?
yeah,
That's what's going to attract in your life, and you're only going to see things that are bad. You're only going to see
yes,
negativity. But if you
yes,
put all your focus on that red Nissan, the thing that you love, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. You're going to start
yes,
seeing opportunities everywhere that drive that line of where you're trying to go.
yes,
And that's what I try to teach all the time. Like for me, I tell people that my life is built on imagination. I
yes.
think about it here, and I built that picture in my mind, and I follow that blueprint, right? And I actually talk about this in the book. It's a segment called Reverse Imagineering, right? Where I go into detail about creating that picture and using that as a blueprint. And that's how my life has functioned for as long as I can
I
remember.
love that.
Yeah.
Reverse imagineering.
Reverse
That's very
imagineering.
cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
if I stuck with reality as far as trying to figure out what should I do with my life,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be anywhere.
Yes. Interesting. I love
Mhm.
that. I love
Yeah, you
that.
can take that picture and make it your reality,
Yeah.
and you have all the
Yeah.
tools to do so.
Yeah. And and a lot of people, and it's actually becomes exciting. It's actually fun if you really
Oh God, yeah.
think, and because it opens up possibilities. And that's what that's what I'm trying to encourage. Like this movement I'm trying to kind of lead is this, like, it's for women, especially because we have so much to offer. Like in this stage of our life, we've done so much. We have so many skills. We have so much experience. And it's like rediscovering who you are. What are your skills? What are your passions? How have your values changed? And what are you going to do with the next 20, 30 years of your life? Right.
Right.
There's so much opportunity. And it's also the time to really experience life fully. And a lot of times that means for a lot of people is like, I have to do.
Right.
Whereas one of my things in Power Purpose Play is play, which just means being, right? Just being with yourself and enjoying the special moments in life and not always having to do, right? So I don't know if you have thoughts on that or
Yeah, no, it's you're absolutely right. It's funny. I was actually talking to someone last night on my birthday. I was kind of given a little session, and I was telling someone, I was like, it's very important to let life come to you, right? It's one thing to put one foot in front of the other and go with what you want, go for what you want, and do, right? Like you said, put those things in place. But at the same time, it's important to focus on clarity within yourself, and it is focused. It is. I'm sorry. It is important to do your work, like yourself, whether it's self reflection, journaling, however you want to do it, just to increase that clarity, so you can see the errors of your ways, right? And that way, you know that the steps that you are taking are the steps that are going to guide you in the right direction. With that being said, it's important to also let life just come to you, right? As you're putting one foot in front of the other. So you put a few steps in, kind of relax, see what's going on, right? And one of the analogies that I love using, especially with my clients who are concerned about uncertainty, right? And having that fear of walking into that space, which a lot of people have, rediscovering their life, right? And trying to do something different. They're like, what? I don't know what to do, right? And it's like, okay, well, like we talked about, you're not supposed to know what to do. And that's the exciting part about it. But however, Once you put one foot in front of the other, it's like a video game, right? You know, those old school video games where, you can't see anything, but you literally can't see anything but what's in front of you. And it's kind of blurry. But every time that character takes a walk towards the background, it starts to, like, more of the background starts to illuminate, right? So every time the character walks, you'll see more and more and more. And at that point, you can figure out where you want to go, right? So I tell my clients the same thing, and I talk about it in the book the same way. It's like, you have to continue to take that one step, and then life will illuminate that light in that path. And then from there, the answers will come to you. Will you have the answer? No, because the answer is what you want to do. Right. But you're going to see more the more you take steps towards that background. Right. And it's just like, in life works just like that video game. So it's like, okay, at that point you can say, all right, well, what do I want to do now?
Yeah.
Right. Because now this is what I see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's not just about being and sitting there and, okay, everything is going to come to me. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what you're saying. But what we're saying is, yes, listen to what your inner self is saying, be in connection with that, but then do it, like do one thing, like, and if that doesn't work out, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up.
Okay, and it works too. So like saying, like, putting one foot in front of the other, but also letting life come to you. It's the same with that background illuminating in the video game.
Right.
You'll take a few steps, and then you take a step back and you look.
Oh, that's not the right way. That's the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. You see what illuminates. You're like, hold on, I was going straight. I actually want to go this way.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean with the let life come to you part, right? Because you'll take a few steps, and then things will illuminate. And you're like, okay, this is the new area that I'm in, right? I want to go that way. Boom, you go that way, take a few steps, and you're like, okay, what else is happening? What's happening here? And that's just how life goes.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the beautiful part about it. It's like, so for me, it's more so having that curiosity and saying, I don't know what's ahead. And that's why I'm so excited, because I get to figure out which way I want to go as I take steps in the direction that I want to go.
But what about those people who really are uncomfortable with that, who really want to know exactly where they're going and what the next steps are? They're uncomfortable with uncertainty, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important. The part that empowers people who are afraid of that uncertainty is planning.
Yeah.
Right. But also, something I talk in my book is also planning for the worst too.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So something I talk about in my book is called the trail. I won't go too far into it now, but it's basically that. So when we think about our goals and things that we want to accomplish in life, we think about all the things that can go well. Right. It's like, okay, well, I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do that. And the end result is me achieving my goal, and everything is great. Right. But the thing is, a lot of us don't achieve our goals because when obstacles hit, when life hits us, we're like, oh no, I didn't plan for this. Right. I didn't think about this. So one thing I have in the book is called the trail. And it's basically, all right, let's fantasize about everything that can go wrong. Right. And then in that case, you're prepared for it. Yeah. Right. Well, just as detailed as you fantasize, we do this imagination thing. Well, we're going to do the imagination thing, but we're going to think about all the things that can go wrong. And at that point, it's like, okay, perseverance comes into the play. How much does this goal mean to you comes into play? Because if you can fantasize about all the things that are going to go wrong, all the obstacles that you're going to have to overcome to get to that goal, if you still think that goal is worth it, okay, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Right. Yeah. And so that's great. So that way, when you start, and I tell my clients all the time, consider all things. Right. So don't just go this way too. And that way, when you start to move, when that car starts to move and you start to take those few steps, whatever comes, it's like, bring it.
Yeah. Bring it on, because you've already thought about it. And it's a motivation for you to get over that. Over that obstacle. And so if you think, it's kind of like planning for, like you said, planning for the worst, but also the best. So it's being realistic in life.
And it's not necessarily just planning for the worst, just to plan for the worst, because when you plan for the worst and you imagine it, you're actually thinking about, how would I handle the situation? How would that make me feel?
No, it's more about, this could happen. And if this did happen, then how would I react? How will I get over that? Or what will I do? And do I really want to do that? And if I still really want to do it, then let's
good. And that way, when something does happen, even if it's not exactly what you imagine, the whole point is that you've experienced this realm of emotions.
Yes.
Right? You've experienced this realm of possibility, and this realm of what the reality may be. So even if it's something different, it's kind of like expecting, it's like a car crash, like traffic. You know that when you go out into traffic, there is a chance that something may happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we understand how to prepare for it. So when a car just cuts in front of you out of nowhere, you're like, Jesus, you know what I mean? But you're fine, but you understand how to react to it. You don't necessarily know it's coming. It just comes. And life obstacles are the same way. So this is where that imagining the best and the worst comes into play, because it's like, okay, well, if something does happen, I already understand how to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you've kind of, with what you're doing with your work and the creativity that you probably have to use in your work has come into understanding how important creativity and that is in your life. And I think that's so important, because nowadays, especially now with what we're facing in the world, like, I don't think we have to be put in these boxes of, I do this and this, therefore, like, I'm an accountant or whatever, and therefore I have to do this. But what if you bring in your passion like you have, and into that, what you're doing, can you light up your life a little bit in different ways? So that's what I really, I don't know, I'm going on and on, but I'm just excited about the fact that you brought your creativity from your work into what you're doing. And I think more of us need to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's totally possible too. So, and like, it's very exciting, because my mom, she kind of went through that phase too, where she was kind of thinking, what else do I want to do? I want to do something that I love. Like, she fell in love with what she was doing as an accountant, right? And but she was interested in like interior design, decorating and stuff like that. And we think that we think it's just like a hobby, and like, no, you can't. You do have to start from the bottom, but if you can take that and be empowered by your ignorance, right? Be empowered at the fact that you don't know anything. Be empowered at the fact that you have to start at step one and get excited about it. It's like, you have an advantage now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just thinking about how excited you are to start at the bottom, like to start fresh.
Yes.
Just that mindset. How much of an advantage do you have over someone who doesn't have that mindset?
Right. It's scary for sure. I mean, you asked me, I left a corporate cushy job after 25 years, and it was terrifying. But like we talked about earlier, and I didn't think I'd ever be a podcast host, but here I am. And it's exciting because I love talking to people. And it's like, that's what you just explore, little things that you've always loved and wanted to do.
And that's what
just comes out. Yeah.
That's what you want. You want a life of meaning. And that's what everybody's searching for, that fulfillment. So if you can find something where you're operating with your passion and your purpose, I mean, you're operating at the peak of existence at that point. And finances and all that other stuff, it's just accessories to life. You want something that means something here.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Yeah. I can't top that one. So, so Shay, tell us, thank you for sharing all that. Great insights, great conversation. I just loved it. And so tell us a little bit about where we can find your book and what you're doing. And we'll have everything in the show notes, but just what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Right now I'm actually working on a really exciting project that just kind of is more of an interactive version of my book. Right. And my book was always meant to be a foundation. Right. So everything that I do now is just kind of it's kind of like, I feel like it's like making a movie out of a book kind of thing. It's like, now you're like bringing things into life. You're pulling stuff out of the book and like going more concentrated in different directions to make it more interactive. So cool. That's kind of what I've been working on lately in the backgrounds. But as far as my book, it's been getting great feedback, and I'm just filled with gratitude by it. And can't believe it as well. But you can find it on Amazon. You can find it at BeBetterThanYou.com. And you can find me if you want to interact with me at Instagram at ShayStone.s. And obviously, if you're interested in a specific level of life coaching, anything like that, you can find that on BeBetterThanYou.com as well.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. I really appreciate all your insights and the fact that you've really gone after your passions. And what movie are you working on? A specific movie right now? Or?
We actually just finished Encanto. Yeah, Disney. So
nice.
It came out Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, cool.
And, everyone's been kind of raving about it. So
I got to see that. I love Disney too. So
Encanto, I've seen it like probably 11 times.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But right now I'm working on Zootopia Plus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
awesome.
That's very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful to have you on the show. And everybody, be sure to read Shay's book, Be Better Than You. It's really a great, fantastic read. And we'll have all the links in our show notes. But in the meantime, take good care. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Midlife Reinvention podcast with Shay Stone. I love her sincerity, creativity, and belief that being better than our own selves every day is a recipe for success and ensures continuous progress, growth, and fulfillment in our lives. Here are her key takeaways. Number 1, a lot of people confuse their career with their purpose. They believe that just because what they've been doing for a long time, they have to continue to do that. The reality is you can always start over. Number 2, we navigate around the things we're afraid of. We try and suppress our feelings. We try anything we can to stay in this comfort zone while also pretending that we are making moves. We are creating a circle of comfort and delusion when we do those things. Number 3, the moment you activate the thought of competing with someone else, you've already lost. Now your focus has shifted. Be your own competitor. Raise the level of competition within yourself. 4, the biggest thing as far as overcoming this constant comparison and not being able to be with ourselves because we're constantly looking for validation is to rediscover who we are. We're all very unique beings, and we all are here to serve a different purpose, our own unique purpose, and not one has an advantage over the other. 5, anxiety is, I don't know what's out there, and I'm scared to find out, versus curiosity, which is, I don't know what's out there, but I'm going to find out. Number 6, when we talk about the things you want to manifest in your life and putting all of your energies to what you want, forget about putting all your energies to the things you don't want. Why would you put so much energy on what you don't want? 7, reverse imagineering is creating a picture and using it as a blueprint. Paint that picture and make it your reality. 8, once you put one foot in front of the other, it's like a video game. Every time you take a step, more of the things illuminate in front of you. You see more, and then you can figure out where you want to go. 9, if you find something where you're operating at with your passion and your purpose, you're operating at the peak of existence at that point. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, a review of this podcast would be so appreciated, as it helps to share our messages to more and more people. Another reminder that I am here for you as your personal midlife reinvention coach and as the leader of our group coaching program called It's My Time Now, with our first cohort of the year beginning on March 22nd. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Let me lead you forward to realize your true full potential. It really is your time now. Contact me for more information, and until next week, stay safe and stay well.